Welcome back to TMZ Sports. My name is Evan, along with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up?
Renee Montgomery.
Hello there.
All right, we got to talk about some anti-Semitism in Boston. This is an unbelievable story. My whole family has been up in arms about this all day long, everybody. There is a high school football coach at Duxbury High School in Massachusetts who was just fired because he was running an offense where the quarterback and other players were yelling audibles that were anti-Semitic language, okay? Like they were calling plays out during a game against Plymouth North High School on March 12th, where the audibles, again, everybody could hear this because they're audibles, right? The quarterback to the line of scrimmage, and he's using the code words that the coach has instructed him to use. And those words were things like Auschwitz. Auschwitz, in case you need a history lesson, is a concentration camp where millions of Jews were put to death. They were murdered by the Nazi regime in the 1940s. They also used words like rabbi and dreidel to call for different plays for the offense and defense to run. This is obviously disgusting. It's absolutely gross. He was investigated for this. And the coach, whose name is Dave Mameron, put out a statement saying, quote, "On behalf of the staff and players of the Duxbury High School football team, I want to extend my apology for the insensitive, crass, and inappropriate language used in the game on March 12th. Yeah, well, the school didn't buy his apology. They have officially fired him. He's done. And I got to be honest with you, I'm disgusted by this. I can't believe it took so long. That game was March 12th. We heard the audio clear as day, and it took until the national media picked up on this before that coach was fired. It's another example, in my opinion, of people not acting strongly enough against a clearly anti-Semitic, bigoted situation, and the coach was able to hang on for several days during this sham investigation. The second that they heard the word Auschwitz, it should have been out with the coach.
Yeah, this is a common theme that we're starting to see, that the action doesn't happen until people throw a fit, basically. I'm sure that they were already aware of it. I'm sure that someone has said something, but once it starts getting media attention nationally, that's when you start to see people react. I think that, everyone, this didn't just happen that one game. They've had to say it in practice. It's had to happen multiple times. That's how practice works. Like, you do reps. They're called reps because it's repetitious. So I just think that just, imagine the kids on there. If there's any kids that might have been uncomfortable the whole time, think about that.
Yeah, and I don't understand it. Why? What's the point? Use a color, use other words like every other football team in high school and college and the NFL uses. It just makes no sense. Coaches are supposed to be teachers, and it's anti-Semitic and it's gross. And I get the feeling that they weren't going to do anything to him until the media got involved. So I'm glad that the media did get involved, because this guy shouldn't be around kids, honestly.
Look, the coach deserves the brunt of this because the buck stops with him. You're the leader of the team. But the other question that I have is, and I mean this sincerely, and I'm not trying to shame the high school kids. I really am not. But didn't anybody, when the coach was saying we're going to call this Auschwitz and we're going to call this dreidel, nobody decided?
Yeah, but it's tough. But Evan, I think it's tough, and I guarantee you a lot of the kids did probably feel like it was wrong, but it's difficult for a kid to stand up to an adult who's in a position of authority. That's a lot to ask for.
I get that. But Babcock, let me ask you a question. Honestly, and I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just asking the honest question.
Yeah.
If the coach had told those same kids to hurl a racist word directed at a black person, or a Latino,
I think then they would have said something, and I think that's an indictment of the way anti-Semitism is viewed in this country.
Well, it's almost like, if you think about it, it's almost like what's going on right now with the Asian hate. A lot of people aren't taking it so serious because it's not something that we're necessarily used to having to take serious, but we know when it comes to the black and brown community, we know the history of racism. So people are well aware, like, hey, that's off limits. But we're starting to see that when it comes to these type of remarks, these slurs, when it comes to anti-Semitism and all these different things, people aren't very educated in it.
Yeah, well, again, it's just another example. I think it's a great point. It's a really great point. It's time to start educating. High school is a place where kids should be learning about the importance and the cultural impact of things like the Holocaust, and why language like that has no place in our society. And it shouldn't be turned into a game, a fun thing to do in a high school football game. It's disgusting, it's offensive, and I'm glad they fired this guy.